In this video, I'll talk all about stamps for wedding invitations, how much postage you need, where you should get it. I'll even touch on vintage postage a little bit, which is really fun. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Laney. I make wedding invitations. I sell them on Etsy, and I also teach stationery designers how to run their business. So if you are an invitation designer, check out our monthly membership, Stationery School, which I'll link in the description of this video. All right, so what type of stamps should you use for your wedding invitations? Most wedding invitations consist of an invitation, an envelope, an RSVP card, and an RSVP envelope. If that's all you have and nothing is double thick, there's no ribbons, envelope liners, wax sealed, etc., and your invitation is not oversized or undersized, then you likely only need one forever stamp. That is currently 55 cents. If you're watching this later than May of 2021, then you might need to check to make sure. But you might need just one forever stamp or the value of that. So you can make up that value of 55 cents, or you can use any of the forever stamps that are at the post office now, as well as any of the forever stamps that have been in circulation ever before. So forever stamps came out in like 2007 or so. So if you find some from a couple years ago, it's still okay to use those. If you want something that's going to match your invitation suite, I recommend checking out the post office first. That's going to be the cheapest and easiest option. You can order anything online, which will give you a bigger selection than just going into your local post office, especially if you need 100 or more. One thing that's weird about ordering stamps from the post office is it can take up to 10 days to process your order. That's before shipping. It seems like they could do that faster because they make the stamps, but that's okay. So make sure you order them in advance, or you might get stuck going to your post office and get stuck with the selection that they have there. If you are working with a designer, a lot of times we'll help you curate stamps that will go well with your suite. And you also are going to need a forever stamp for your RSVP envelope, because you don't want your guests to have to go out and find a stamp. It might hinder their ability to RSVP on time, which is something we don't want. So you want to go ahead and put that on there for them. If you're doing an RSVP postcard, which I love as a great money-saving alternative, then you'll just need a postcard stamp, which is currently 35 cents, but could change. A lot of people want to do something that's not currently at the post office. So if you like any of the forever stamps from the past, for instance, there's this Fern stamp that all of us stationery designers absolutely love that hasn't been in circulation for several years now. You can typically find those actually on Amazon if it's in the last 20 years or so. If you want to find something a little bit older, you might need to reach out to a vintage stamp curator or search on Etsy or eBay for people who collect and sell vintage stamps. It's really interesting to think about, but vintage stamps are actually a limited resource. We might actually run out of them one day because we can't print new vintage stamps. So vintage stamps cover anything from the first postage stamp up to anything that is just not in circulation anymore. So technically those forever stamps from 3 years ago are considered vintage stamps, technically, although they're not really what we think of. We usually think of things that are a little bit older. When my clients want to use vintage stamps, I always say to expect to pay about 3 times the value. So if you need to come up with 55 cents of postage, you can expect to pay about, $165 total for vintage postage of 55 cents. So it's really nice to actually mix and match if you need to increase your postage, like if you need a second ounce or something for wax seals, then you need 20 extra cents currently. That can change. So you need 75. So if you have a forever stamp that's 55 cents and then you add a vintage stamp that's 20 cents, it creates a really nice look without totally breaking the bank or being too expensive. That brings me to how to calculate how much postage you need. A lot of wedding invitations do go over that 1 ounce just in weight. You can do this if you have extra insert cards, if your cards are double thick or triple thick or layered, if you have a pocket, if you have an envelope liner or a ribbon, anything around your invitations to tie them together, like a ribbon or a belly band. All of these things can add to the weight of the total package and bring it over 1 ounce. What's really frustrating is that a lot of post offices have slightly different scales too. So you might get different information if you go to different post offices. Or if you find someone who's really confused about mailing invitations, I recommend just going to a different post office. I have a video here about how to mail your wedding invitations that might help. So you might need to add an extra 20 cents currently, an extra little bit if you go over that 1 ounce, but you also may need to add it if you have a wax seal or a ribbon that creates a bump in your envelope. So if your envelope's not fully flat, then you have to pay what's called a non-machinable surcharge, which is currently 20 cents as well. So most of my invitations fall between 55 and 95 cents. So they either have none of the extra stuff, they have 1 extra ounce or non-machinable, or they have both an extra ounce and a non-machinable surcharge, which is 40 cents extra. So the really interesting thing about vintage postage is that most of it came before postage was 35, 45, 55 cents. So if you have to get to 95 cents, it's really tough to get to that number with, denominations of 12, 13, 22. You have to have like 12 stamps before you can get to that 95 cents. So this is just another reason that mix and matching with current forever stamps is a really good idea. And it can save you money, but it can also just make it a lot easier to find the stamps that you need for 40 cents than to find the full 95 cents. I also have another video I'll link here all about applying vintage postage because it wasn't always a really simple little sticker like it is now. So I've got some really good tips and tricks for how to apply it. No matter what kind of stamps you want to use for your invitations, I do recommend taking it to the post office that you're going to be mailing it from and checking with them before you put them in the box or even before you put all the stamps on, because you might find that you have too much postage or in some cases not enough, and you'd rather know that from the beginning so that you can curate a really nice arrangement with the right amount of postage on it. If you're working with a designer, we can always help you with that. I always help all my invitation clients figure out the right postage options for them for the RSVP envelope and for the outer envelope so that it matches and looks really nice with their wedding invitation suite. If you're still in the market for wedding invitations, check out all of our collections on Etsy at the link in the corner and let me know what questions you have about stamps for wedding invitations. Thanks everyone.